There you go.
Will it actually be a recording? I noticed that we didn't have our, what is it, the CDC? Is they just too long, or is there a limit for what you guys are doing or something? 'Cause, you know, last time we looked, there wasn't a video up on that one. It's slow, folks.
Did it just not get listed? I know we recorded it.
Yeah, you did probably, but I thought there was somebody said there was a time limit. Somebody said,
Well, there's a time limit that creates another recording, so you have to merge them.
yeah, last time I looked, it wasn't posted.
Oh, maybe we had to merge it
I don't know.
a little extra time.
I was trying to figure out how those worked, because sometimes I've seen a lot of times they don't get posted up there right away.
I think it takes like a week.
See the May 7th one, you know, if you look right now.
I can do 5 o'clock, Mr. Chair.
Still not
Not there
listed.
yet.
That's weird.
So we'll bring this finance committee to order, thank you, and we will call a roll with all of our, I'm here, Deputy Mayor, Councilmember Gwendolyn Fullerton's here, and Councilmember Carrie Hubler is here. Any comments on our minutes?
I did not see any changes.
Me either.
Alrighty, no changes to the minutes needed, and we will move along to discussion items, 121 fund expenditure. And who's,
No,
sorry.
that personnel.
Okay, we'll skip over that, right? Well, I didn't see Brian, is he hiding?
Yes.
Oh, okay,
I'm
sorry.
hiding over here.
I was like, you can, I was trying to
Good
find you
afternoon, I'll be
earlier.
really quick.
Find you. Go ahead, thanks, Brian.
Yes, the recent hirings and promotions, Brenda Martin was promoted to administrative supervisor effective May 16th. We do have a limited term planning manager that started May 8th. Yeah, sorry about that.
That's like a contract position type of thing, right? Or,
Limited term, she's gets benefits, but it's the
Okay.
kind of deadline of, or end date of January.
Yeah, January.
Yeah.
okay.
Conditional offers for a custodian and a community service officer, so they're doing backgrounds in the police department on a couple of community service officers. And we're doing, we conducted a lot of interviews for our seasonal staff. I know they're looking to start some possibly on the 16th, maybe more like on June 1st, but we'll see how that works out. Not sure how many exactly we have, but we're able to interview a lot and get a lot hired. We'll probably have to do a few more interviews, but we were able to close up a few of those positions. Any questions?
Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we'll move on, Chief. Sorry. Thanks.
Thank you. So what you have before you is a request to purchase night vision equipment for our SWAT team members, the related sight systems, and the brackets to hold everything using 121 funds. My goal is to either push this to consent on May 28th or to full council, whichever one you decide you want to. The background on it is that frankly, tactics and what is available to the common citizen have changed drastically, requiring us to do more nighttime and early morning surveillance and approaches, which is where this equipment comes into play. I'm requesting to use the 121 funds, which are federal drug seizure funds. This will not come from the general fund at all, and I ask the taxpayers to support it, or letting the drug dealers support it. For example, we did warrants this morning for the DEA as part of a regional effort. Had that occurred in December, 6 a.m. would have been pitch black versus 6 a.m. today. So that is really the history of why we're bringing it forward. The Metro SWAT team that we're moving, that we participate in, is moving towards all members having night vision. So that's why I'm bringing it forward to you. It was more money than was allocated to be used from the 121 fund this year. There's plenty of money to cover it, but because it was more than we'd allocated, Sherry and I spoke, and we wanted to bring it to finance for approval. Public Safety Committee has also been briefed on it as well.
Very good. Sherry, do you know, so does anybody know because I know when you filled out the council agenda bill thing that it doesn't have or is it does 121 have a balance or what have you, or? You said you're gonna
Yeah,
spend
there's, I just actually have that right now. Hold on, let me look here. There's definitely money.
Yeah, I would imagine. I just didn't know whether we normally filled that out or if it's something that I don't know how you guys treat that particular fund.
There's approximately 150,000 in there.
Yep, great, thanks. Yeah, Gary?
So, what normally does this fund, is this fund just Bonnie Lake Fund?
This is just
It
Bonnie
is.
Lakes
Oh,
and, no, go ahead, Sherry.
yeah, it is. It's just Bonnie Lake's fund. We have two different drug funds. One is with the old DARE money, if you will. There's been other money in there, but a lot of people know it as DARE money. And then there's this fund, which is federal funds related to drug when they take the property and sell it off. Seizures, thank you. That's the word.
And it is restricted to buying things for investigations that are drug enforcement related. So it's not just a carte blanche fund you can access.
I like that. That's cool. Okay, that was my main thing was like, where was this money at? And I like that it's just for the stuff. But is it normally something that you always each year come say, hey, this is how much we want to spend, or?
Typically, there's a budget, yes. So the financial report I sent out to you last week, it would show you how much money is in each fund on page 2. And so it shows you how much money's in that particular fund. There are different funds. General fund is the one you typically hear, and then obviously the utilities, water, sewer, storm. But this is a special fund, and like the chief said, it's limited to just federal compensation. I keep trying to say that seizure money that we can only spend on certain items. So this qualifies. Typically, they prepare the budget, but there was a change in chief, and this is a legitimate expense for this fund that wasn't budgeted. So it needs your guys' approval before it goes forward.
Okay.
So that, this is one of those that could vary a lot for what the revenue kind of comes in. Is that correct? Is that how it works, depending on what the federal seizures were associated with Bonnie Lake activity or
Correct.
something? What was budgeted before then, if there wasn't anything at all? It seems, how does that work?
There's
Seems
been other
like this
things budgeted. Chief Jeter had some things budgeted, but this is an additional item that they would like that was not budgeted.
Okay. Oh, I see. So there already, there is other spend out of this account. This is just
Correct.
something else. Yeah, okay.
I believe this year it had $25,000 allocated, which we haven't touched yet.
Oh, yeah.
But this goes beyond that.
Sure, yeah. Okay.
Any questions? Perfect explanation for me. Thank you. I feel it still needs to go not to consent, but to at least discussion.
Yeah, full council issue. then,
Yeah, just because we want to
Well,
make sure that,
finance.
yeah,
Even
on the
though it
finance
was
account.
already on public safety as well. Chief said they talked about it, public safety and now finance.
They did. It doesn't matter. It's just it's fine. The council member wants it to be on the general open, to say yay about it.
Yeah, it wasn't really on public safety. It was just more, he brought it up, made sure we were aware that he was bringing it up tonight to finance.
Yeah.
But I think it's just easy for us to say, hey, this is money that is here for this purpose, and let's utilize it, make sure the public knows, always trying to be open and honest about what we're spending money on and where the money's coming from. So just want to talk about that in public.
Yep. That's what it's there for. Do you know?
Committee issues May 28th.
Right. How we're using the new, I see the chief had the old form or whoever made it up for him.
Chief?
I don't know who's, we invented this new process and I haven't been through it yet exactly.
I thought I used the new.
So the new form,
This doesn't
I
matter.
used the old
paid
form.
out.
It
So
doesn't-
this was Yeah, the chief and I discussed this long ago, so this was prepared before the other form came out.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure, I think the clerk's office wanted to make sure that they were getting clear communication on where it was to go land.
I have an
Is that-
email right now.
Is that, okay.
Uh,
I'll get it up
the
to you.
Finance committee issues May 28th.
Awesome.
Cause how did the other, committees fill out their form? Cause I
They
know
use,
she was.
Boxes, bottom of the.
So like for
There's
tonight,
How were you
there's a
doing
couple,
yours? How did you do yours?
good.
No,
So,
I didn't,
no,
you did
like-
it right. I was just didn't know how. to-
So tonight, no, it's in the other thing. So tonight we have on the issues,
Yeah,
this, and it's got my signature on it. So, Mr.
how did it get?
Sullivan,
Oh,
he had his, so he filled it out and then I signed it for him. And,
got it done,
Yeah. and so he wrote on it the day, the
Okay,
14th, which is tonight, for the issues that were gonna be put on tonight's agenda and where they were gonna go, and then
Perfect.
I just signed off on it.
So I'm gonna update the agenda bill. It's not for the May 28th and just have you sign it.
Sounds good. Okay. We'll see. I'm sure it'll be a couple of iterations of it before we get it all figured out. Next item then we'll move along to is finding the top here is the procurement of something. Vacuum unit.
Thank you. Okay.
Feedback.
Yep.
I brought you a brochure to kind of bring you up to speed on what it is, what it looks like.
Last time it was a naked truck. What are we getting?
Something to go on the-
Something on the naked truck.
We're
So
gonna
this is-
dress that truck up. Let's put some clothes on it.
This is for the agenda bill 2445, resolution 2445, the procurement of a Walks utility product skid mounted vacuum unit. We're asking for you to approve this purchase. The background summary on this is a skid mounted vacuum unit, pretty essential for the water department to efficiently operate and maintain a vast network of valves. We have approximately 3,485 valves across 220 miles of distribution main. This unit aids in the regular maintenance, troubleshooting of valves, ensuring optional functionality, and minimizing disruption of the water service. Additionally, it assists in identifying service line material types and crucial aspects. It's a crucial aspect of affecting maintenance planning and infrastructure upgrades. By employing such a unit, the water department can streamline its operation, enhance system reliability, delivering high quality water service to our community. We're asking for you to approve the expenditure amount of $66,154.92. Any questions
Is
on
this the only thing that the truck is going to need to have put on it, or do we have like
Yes,
boxes and things like
Nope,
that?
that will be the only thing.
So this is it, cause I was like, that was a,
We're,
Skid mounted, so it can go
Yeah.
on.
yeah, we have a flatbed that we're gonna mount it on one of your older trucks so that we can put it on and off and use it throughout the summer and part of the fall. Then that truck will go back to its normal winter life.
And what this allows us to do is not have to drag the big Vector trucks out into smaller neighborhoods to do hydro excavation around the meters and stuff. So it's more efficient, gets into smaller spaces, smaller crew, because you don't have to use as much traffic control when you're using the skid mounted vehicle, because it's mounted on basically a standard truck
Mhm.
versus the big Vector, big super Vector trucks.
so this isn't gonna be necessarily on the new naked truck that's
No.
coming in. This will be just extra to help make life a little bit easier out there, less manpower. Okay,
And more efficient, we'll be able to send out fewer people. And then on smaller jobs, this will allow Jim to get his crews out there much more quicker to take a look at things.
okay. And then I see in the budget, the Cedar View Water Main Replacement Project. So this water main's not being replaced? Is that why we're wanting to take from that fund?
Yeah, so in the original budget, we had hoped by now we were gonna have the federal money in to do the sewer line this year. And since we're not doing, and we've been talking with CDC about this a couple times, since we're not doing the sewer line because we haven't got the money from the Army Corps of Engineers for that project, we're not doing the water main project. And we're gonna put the water main project on as a 2026 project. which will give us time to get the sewer project caught up through the sewer fund.
Okay.
Because you don't want to go through and dig up the street, repave it, and then come back 2 years later and dig it all up again.
Is this the same one that we're taking some money from for the two
Yes.
water towers? Okay.
Well, no, a little bit for the water tower and then Granger Springs, yeah.
Right.
So we're not spending over the allotted budget, we're just repurposing the money already authorized in the budget and pushing the project out until 2026.
I'm, I'm personally okay with this, especially if it's not taking extra and I like repurposing. I do feel it needs to do a full council. What do you guys think?
It's fine, as long as you want to talk about it.
I'm cool talking about it.
You got two of these so far.
Well, I usually have Jason talk about it. Because he's the one with all the
He knows
information.
and that's it, that's the best way.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right, it's the best way, it's like he knows the reasons and stuff, but I think that, yeah, we just have to be. We're not using extra tax money, this is like stuff we've already got allocated. This is what we're wanting to do and why, and then.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. Just reallocating.
Finance committee issues,
Finance committee issues, yay.
make the need.
This is how we do this one, right? For the farmer here.
Oh, Dan, you remember the old days when we used to do this?
I know, right? It's like, except there was not 12 of us in the room, you know, it's kind of
The
scary.
old days, we used to have all three of these signed, we can go back to that.
Right? I know, I know.
Can you get this to me electronically so we can put it in the packet?
Trunk?
It is a little.
In the packet.
No, just.
Sometimes old is new.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right now, no, tomorrow, when you get into mine, just.
So sit down right now and here and get it done.
Alrighty,
No, tomorrow. So.
so we'll move along then to
Next
resolution
Wednesday.
M24-43 ARPA funds for stormwater. Who's doing this? Multiple person?
I'll let Sherry kick it off.
Okay. Me. Go.
Sorry. As you know, we've used most of our ARPA, or we've allocated all of our ARPA funds by prior council movement. And there was a project or two that ended up not moving forward and not qualifying, which left us with about $51,000 of unused stormwater projects. As such, Drew and Jason recommend that there's an additional project that's been identified as a need. It's an illicit connection and discharge screening. If you ask me what this is, that I can't tell you. So that's a Jason question. But
No, it
before I release it to Jason, the other part of this agenda bill is basically approving the continuation of 2 limited term parks employees, as well as 1 limited term legal specialist, to be funded by the interest that we've received over the years from ARPA. I found out that the Department of Treasury is not wanting us to track that, and they do not want to know. So I thought, what better way than to continue these 2 limited term positions? These were ARPA funded positions, than to use that interest earnings and allow them to continue through 2026, which is also the end of the ARPA term.
So let's see, 3 pieces there, right? Or 4 or something like that. At least the one piece, the major piece is that MPDS screening.
Yeah, it's to bring a consultant. Yeah, well, no, it's just to bring a consultant in and actually run video cameras through the stormwater system to look for illicit connections. Illicit connections are another fancy word for just saying illegal connections. It's a requirement of our MPDS permit to operate our stormwater system that we conduct this inspection. And this would allow us to basically use the ARPA money to complete that required inspection that we're gonna have to do anyway, to identify those illegal connections to the stormwater system.
They're not really ARPA funds anymore, really per se. They're, because we
Well,
ended.
kind of. So they were already designated as
I know they're
stormwater.
coming in the room.
I see what you're saying, because we said everything remaining would go to
Yeah.
lost revenue.
That's
But
fine.
these
That's
were
good.
already stormwater funds that ended up not being utilized. So I feel it's important to reallocate that and allow the council to decide if they want that project to be funded. If not, you're needing to find something else to spend 51,000 or give it back to the feds.
Yeah, 51's, for me, it's kind of okay because it's a single use, one kind of thing. I don't know what, so Carrie?
Just a question. You said something about certain projects weren't able to be done. What projects didn't get done that was previously hoped to with this money? Do you remember at all?
You know, we went through the list and there was just some, I asked Jason to review the list a little closer because there are funds that were allocated on there that I didn't believe qualified per the rules, which would have been the 50,000 in MPDES projects, because that's already grant funded. So I didn't feel it qualified. Ryan, previous director, felt differently, and I asked Jason to review it. So it's basically the same type of project, MPDS related. So they're just using grant funds.
Okay.
Because these funds are, I had the word for a second, but they're not tied to anything right now. You can spend it on whatever you want to.
Okay.
So with the grant funds, those are supposed to be spent by like 2026, correct?
They have to be allocated by the end of this year. If we don't allocate it, which means contract binded, then the money has to get returned. So we've been working really hard to make sure that everything left can be contracted out by this year. A contract.
Okay. Right. And then, but the interest, since we don't have to report that, that's not necessarily a thing, right? We don't have to report that or return that because
Correct.
Yay.
just extra.
In your opinion, Sherry, that 500,000 in interest, will we still have with those 3 positions to keep 2 parks and then 1 legal specialist? Are we still gonna have more funds at the end of 2026 with that, or you think that's gonna exacerbate it?
No, that's gonna deplete it.
Okay.
I will squeak by on this, but it's a squeak that I'm taking a gamble on. I felt it was important. I heard, Jason and I talked, Dina and I talked, and it was important that they wanted to try to keep these limited term positions as long as possible. And this is a way that, technically you're not using taxpayer dollars to continue these people. And it gives us one more budget cycle to hopefully figure out how we're going to come up with more revenue to support some of the functions that are needed in the city.
So these are, let's see, limited term positions that we're talking about, since we're okay with the first part of the MPDS piece. It sounds like that one's okay. So we got is there 3 positions or whatever that are limited term?
Correct.
Okay.
Is it 2 parks and 1 legal?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. So as stated, you're trying to fund those through 2025 and 26, which is the next quote unquote budget cycle, which is a budget, the biennial budget, right?
Right, because right now, the parks people are only funded through, I believe it's September or October of this year.
September.
And Kristen, who I believe I saw walk in, is only funded through, I believe it's November. So these don't even go through the budget cycle if you don't fund these.
Right. So, of course, I'm gonna say, right? Because those are ongoing efforts. So an employee is kind of a thing you have an agreement with. You don't want to just miscellaneously let people go and come and what have you. So if the council's thinking, that they want parks employees or they want the LTO positions, shouldn't they be allocating that in the 25-26 budget straight up? Saying, yeah, that's a position we want or need or something. or-
So
I don't know.
sure, I can do that and I'll move this money over to the general fund because it's not technically ARPA money if you want to
Right.
do it that way. But I was trying to be transparent and say, hey,
Sure.
you know, we've earned this money.
Yeah.
The mayor has said no additional positions. So this is a way that the council can say, yes, we would like to keep these people on limited term through 2026. And like I said, it will give us some time as a city to figure out how we bring in more money to support these
Sure, yeah,
positions.
yeah.
Well, and the other part of it is we can't necessarily just wait for the budget cycle because the budget starts in January 1st and limited term positions in before the budget cycle.
Right.
Which is, and these positions, at least the two parks maintenance workers are critical to parks.
Sure.
You know, there's only two parks maintenance workers to maintain all the parks. And all the good work that we're seeing in the parks now is only beneficial because we have the two extra park maintenance worker, which means we're able to have staff on Saturdays and Sundays to make sure when people are running the fields, there's staff around to handle things, do the trail maintenance to keep it safety. And I know Chief's been working really close with him on safety issues at the city parks as well.
Yeah, I'll just tell you the park staff
Sure.
are instrumental in cleaning up security concerns for something.
Exactly, yeah.
So I mean, it is a vital, critical for us on the park side that we have these at least four employees to maintain the park system and make sure that we're also not spending a lot more money on outside contractors to come in and do work because we don't have the staff on hand. Like we mow Allen York Park, or not Allen York Park, Midtown Park to keep the vegetation down. We were able to do that in-house at a significantly lower cost than if we would have had to hire a contractor to do it because we had the staff on staff.
So what's the difference between a limited term employee and a full-time employee?
So, well, they are full-time. What happened is they made these limited term because they were ARPA funded, right? So, the idea was if we could continue to fund them, we would try to fund them in, you know, an upcoming budget cycle. You're asking for about 5% of my budget to go to these folks of my general fund budget. And, you know, we have been having a very tight general fund budget lately. You know this, you know, sales tax has been down. Our WCI insurance has gone up, obviously, you know, from a variety of reasons. And this is just, you know, kind of a thinking outside of the box way to continue to fund these people while the council entertains ideas on how to raise revenue.
Yeah, no, yeah, I agree. I think, you know, you're thinking great and it's a good solution, but I just have a problem with, keeping people in limbo and not, you know, we hire people, we pay them because they come here. And then we want to kind of keep them in a quasi non-employee status where they, you know.
Absolutely agree with you. These three folks were hired knowing that they were limited term. And,
Yeah.
I
So
know
it seems
that
kind of weird to keep them, you know, because we're trying to keep quality employees, right? Ultimately,
Right.
I don't know, right? So how do you keep a quality employee? They have job security, kind of, as long as they're doing their job.
I think in this position, they have, at least they know if we approve this, then at least they know they have until December 31st, 2026, they have a job. in
and
this-
not only, I'm sorry,
Does that make
Tim,
them feel
not
better?
only that, but
Is that a
they
good
would
strategy?
they would kind of know before that because the budget's going to be adopted before that, right? So,
Yeah.
I believe.
No,
like,
you're not.
But I
Yeah,
think
but
I
you
saw.
have to- Right, but that's not what I'm hearing because you're saying that they're not gonna be in the 2025-26 budget.
Well, they'll be in the budget as limited term again.
But we
Yeah,
could
yeah.
add them
They will
to,
be, and so
That
then. what
doesn't
would
help me
work
as an employee.
In
Well, I
two
mean,
years.
It was a solution
No,
to
it's a great
try
solution.
and keep them on
Yeah, yeah.
now. And I think the idea would be certainly if council, you know, is willing to bring them on as full-time employees, I think that would be fantastic. I think it's where needed for all three of them.
Well, if they're needed and if,
Yeah.
you know, because I don't know the internals of the city, right? You know, I'm just a legislative member, so I have to rely on the executive and the administration to say, hey, we need these people, or this is what we need to do, so. You know,
And we
I
need to
would-
come
forward
with
in our budget.
solutions on how to fill that gap, Deputy Mayor Swatman. We
Yeah,
have
I know,
5%.
we're.
This would take up 5% of my budget. And like Jason said, the bigger
I know.
issue is, they are only funded through September, October, and November. So even if you said no to this, put them in the budget, then we have to lay them off for 2 or 3 months because we have no funding
No,
mechanism.
no,
This
we're
will
gonna
keep-
use, right, yeah, no, we're gonna use your bridge. We're gonna use the bridge of whatever, to keep them on until they can be, the council can say, yeah, the 25-26 budget contains these employees,
Correct.
these parks employees and these employees as real employees. And that's, they're gonna be that way and we're gonna figure it out. Or,
And that's,
I
yeah,
had no
absolutely.
idea our parks ran by Kramer for so long by himself. I had no idea until getting
Can you
to
imagine?
meet with Kramer going, what?
I know, right?
I was flabbergasted
Yeah.
that one person ran our parks.
And I did reach
was
out to all 3 employees and they're thrilled with the solution. You know, they all had fully expected that, they would probably be let go.
Sure.
So,
Oh, yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
a couple of them might be there. I know I saw Kristen back there. So, she can certainly speak if you have a question for her. But they were thrilled with the solution until we come up with the next gap, right? Stop gap, if you will.
I mean, I guess one way to look at it is if you approve this,
Yeah.
they're funded through 2026.
Well, we
And
don't-
then the only question that the council has to ask you as part of the budget isn't whether or not to fund them or not fund them, is whether to make them permanent or a limited term. It doesn't remove that question that the council can have as a discussion during the budget, but it allows us to know right now that these employees are funded through 2026. And so coming up to December, they're not starting to look for new jobs, because you'll have the same issue in 2 months. If you say it's December 31st, they're gonna start looking for new jobs because their term's gonna be coming to an end. This buys us knowing that we have them till 2026 and council can have that conversation.
I don't know that I would change that. I would caution against actually changing that to making them permanent employees until the council finds a solution for our
Yes.
revenue issues.
Well, yeah, I agree. I know exactly what you're saying, Sherry. We're on the same invisible page, but, yeah, we need to get there, if we want to keep them. And I'll be encouraging them to be included in a budget discussion for the 25-26
Yeah.
Agreed.
from employees. I haven't heard from Councilmember Fulton.
I'm
don't
just
have any comments.
taking it all in, but I'm actually in agreement. I think that Sherry, is there any other projects that would be more, would need these funds more than the employee situation?
So, that would probably depend on who you ask, right?
Right.
Because every person's going to tell you something different. From my perspective, this was a great way. I'd heard the council wasn't really wanting to make these limited term. They were encouraging us to try to figure a way to make these people more permanent. This doesn't make them permanent yet. It won't make them permanent in the 25-26 budget, but what it will do is allow us to find that solution. I know I keep saying that, but it allows time to find that solution. The council's talking about recreation revenue. That's an issue. 300,000, we were down last year for recreation. This year we're talking about 150,000. You add the 500,000 to that, now we're up to about 5% of my budget for the general fund. It goes quick, and police takes up probably 15% of my general fund budget. So, it goes quick. There's not a lot of money to go around. And
Yeah.
I know we want more of this and we want more of that. Last year the council asked for more cops. The cops asked for just more sergeants, and the council said, no, we're going to give you 2 more cops. So, it goes quick, and we have to start having those discussions. I know the mayor and I talked about, I think I'm not seeing everybody. I think the mayor's in the audience.
He
here.
is.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Okay, I saw a little hand. The mayor and I talked about, the B&O tax and having that discussion and bringing that back at some point. I think it's necessary, and it's not necessary just for a parks component. It's necessary for a general fund component to help start allowing departments to have, the people to do the work that you guys are wanting done. I've heard you guys say that, the work that the 2 crew have done in parks has been amazing. Well, we have to figure out a way to keep that then.
Oh, we agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
I
Take
agree.
my foot back out. I can't say I agree we agree. I say I agree.
Oh, well, then you and I agree, right?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, so.
I think basically this is,
Unconstitutional.
no. I think it's good. I'm just trying to figure out where to put it. So I think probably Councilmember Hubler is going to be putting it on the
I will too.
discussion.
Finance
Okay, so-
discussion.
I will too, because,
Exactly.
you know, I want to note in the
Yep.
comments, if the council chooses to pass this, that, we definitely recommend to the administration and the mayor that they put these employees in as full-time employees in the budget
For the new budget
for the
cycle for
25,
this year.
26
Yeah,
as
so
like
they need to be a
actually
little,
real employees.
We need to figure out, yeah, and then we need to figure out.
There goes the we again,
Yep.
right? We.
We have to figure out how to fund all this.
Sherry just passed out, I think.
Finance committee issues, May 28th.
Yes, please.
I'll
Thank you.
email you the sign sheet.
What?
Okay. I'll email you the sign sheet.
I don't need it. Why do I need
She
it?
doesn't need it. She doesn't.
Because you have to put it with your council packet to
Somebody
submit it
just
to,
put it in the council packet. I don't need it.
well, who's submitting your council packet to Sadie? That's typically done by the departments.
I wasn't told how that process works.
I know, we're doing this little bumpy thing. We'll get there. Whatever works best.
We used to
Uh,
have, sign off,
we usually-
remember, Deputy Mayor, we used to do that with Finance Committee and other committees. You would sign off and then you'd march it down and hand it to City
Yeah.
Clerk, Susan at
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah. Yeah, we're trying to figure out how best to make that flow work with it.
Well, since all it is this, I'll just scan this in and email it to Sadie, see what happens.
Thank you. Thank you.
Back.
We're gonna try. So I think that's that. And we're having one more thing here yet. All right, up back to page 1, and we're on to the joint recreation interlocal agreement, I guess, resolution R 24-49. It's back. This is the what they're possibly gonna entertain at the school district level. And this is just like the last one.
It is, there's just a couple of small little verbiage changes and a couple of office supply changes, but other than that, it's pretty much the same agreement as the last one. This will give us one additional year to continue to explore alternatives, looking at the greater region for funding. For instance, the mayor and I have a meeting this week with 2 of the Pierce County Council members to discuss some funding options and how to look at the overall regional as a bigger picture for the recreation program, since we are servicing a lot of members of Pierce County that are not in the city of Bonney Lake or the city of Sumner. So we're continuing to explore options to make this back as close as we can to a self-funded program or with less money out of the city of Bonney Lake's budget. The original thought was normally we would have brought this a little bit sooner, but we didn't get this back in time for the last meeting from the school district. And I felt it was important, as well as the mayor, to bring this to the council before the school district had an opportunity to vote for it, since it's our recreation program. They would see that we were looking forward to signing it in an act of good faith to have them sign it at their upcoming meeting, which is before the next council meeting. So any questions?
Sounds good. I don't know if do you think there's anything that we changed that they might object to or anything, or?
No, and this final copy actually came back from the school district.
Oh, okay.
So they have had the
So they,
last corrections and modifications.
I noticed in section 4 that there was the joint board. So who is going to be part of that? Is that the school board and then your position as well?
So in the past, the board has actually been, that was left in from the original agreement where it was the mayor of Sumner, the mayor of Bonney Lake, and the superintendent of the school district. So that board really just becomes the mayor of Bonney Lake and the Sumner School District Superintendent.
It says that they, each party shall have 2 representatives on the joint board.
Okay.
Made at least one immigration.
At page 2, section 4.
Yep.
I think in the past, before Tim Thompson retired, it was superintendent and the athletic director. And then it was before Becky Giles retired, it was her and the mayors were all in it together. So that would be myself, the mayor, their current athletic director, and superintendent. And previously, when Mayor Johnson was in office, he actually spoke frequently with the superintendent, and they shared enough information that we actually didn't meet as a joint board, so to speak, because information was shared quite frequently at the top level.
Ultimately, they have to sign off on it, so if they need any changes, they'll be doing that or whatever, and then sending it back to us for, re-ratification.
And David, it's on the consent agenda tonight, I believe.
It's on the agenda. I don't remember exactly where for tonight, though.
Looks fine to me. I read through it pretty quickly earlier, and it's basically the same thing that we had last year. When it's temporary, it's only 1 year again, until we can get this figured out. So I think that a 1-year ILA is a good idea. Until we can kind of get the finances and everything coordinated and figure out where funding's gonna be coming from, and
It's
I
a
think
much
it's a good
bigger
idea.
picture overall, part of the piece of the
Absolutely.
puzzle.
yeah. And as long as it doesn't prevent us from being able to go out and possibly sign with a private entity or get grants, things like that, as long as there's nothing in here that would prevent options for financing. I'm good with that.
All benefits us. It's all
Yeah.
good.
Benefits are you
Yeah.
and our adults.
So the question is,
It's on the.
It's on the
Agenda for tonight.
okay,
So
I think that should be fine because there really isn't anything financial having to do with that necessarily.
yeah, and there's only gonna be like whatever, one other person here maybe or something anyways.
Yeah.
There's, 2 of the company was already gone. I don't know who else.
Yeah. Is anybody gonna be online?
I don't know,
Oh,
but 2 of them are gone.
oh,
They're not gonna
Angela's
be
got
here.
her graduation.
Andrew's gonna be gone.
Oh.
and
and Kelly.
Kelly's gone, so we'll barely scrape by. So, do we have anything else we needed to talk about? You got that one right? Like, this is on consent, it's already there,
Yep.
it's all.
Thank you.
Open committee discussion items for finance. The first official one.
When do we expect to have, tax brought back up to us to talk about?
Good question.
I do
It's
not
really
like
something
being
for you to bring.
I missed
It
the,
was something I was going to bring up as chair of finance. And I was gonna bring it up previously, and then, all this other stuff happened.
You got
right?
mixed
So-
up and decided to do something else.
Right, yeah.
Still a
So-
you.
But essentially it's for you guys to bring up at this point.
oh,
although
are we
it
talking
looks
about
like maybe
BL
Sherry-
here?
Yeah,
No, I
Yeah.
didn't hear everything. When are we gonna bring back? And I was like, bring back what? What are we talking about?
Oh.
oh,
So-
the future
Yeah, so I'm
discussion.
trying to catch up here. So the little issue that we have right now, the little hiccup, if you will, is there's a lot of moving parts with B&O once it's approved, including, people to send out all these informational notices saying, hey, you're going to have to owe a B&O tax. And then also working with 2 entities to make it work with our system. So when the mayor and I talked about this, and I believe I might have brought this up at a finance committee prior to the change, it didn't make a lot of sense to bring it back while we're in the process of switching financial software, because it's about $75,000 just to have these people come in and make it work with our system, if I recall. And they would have to do it again once we switch software. Spoiler alert for Chuck, he's going to be bringing that to you shortly in the next month or 2. We're hoping to get that process started if the council approves to move forward late September, beginning of October-ish. And certainly as part of that process, we can try to figure out what parts need to be done before we can work with another entity to get B&O tax to work for our system.
Sherry,
Yes.
is there a way of raising the sales tax rather than a B&O, because the sales is going to affect every single community that comes into Bonney Lake, and therefore they will be helping to pay for where they shop and the services that they use here versus a B&O tax.
The B&O tax would be the same. Sorry if you hear the airplanes. It's really hot in this room and I'm on the third runway. It would be the same because, the business tax is being charged by the businesses that people are going to. So either one's going to charge the people that go to the businesses, right? Sales tax, you can't just raise without, a council can't do that. There has to be voter approval on sales tax issues. So there isn't the authority or ability to just do that. There's a component of sale tax, I believe, and I'd have to look more into it, that relates to
I think it's traffic.
traffic. Yeah, that's what I was trying to figure out how to say exactly. I was like transportation, but it's not really transportation, but yeah, it's related to traffic. So after going through all of the viable options out there, we kind of came down to, this was discussed, it's been rehashed year after year after year. You have 3 basically funding mechanisms that you can go after. One is a transportation benefit district, which would be the extra car tab tax, right? That people talk about, $25, $40, $50. That would have to be used towards streets, but it could ease up the general fund by taking some of that out of the general fund if you had money to support the streets. Your other funding mechanism would be a parks district. Obviously, that's just straight up goes to parks and recreation. But again, that can alleviate some of the strain on your general fund. And then the last one would be your B&O tax. So those are kind of the 3 that we haven't tapped yet. And every city struggles with this. It's not just us.
Yeah, and by the way, they're gonna increase your, what are they gonna do? They're gonna triple your property tax next year. It's gonna be great. So citizens will be excited for that
It
one.
actually got voted down.
It did this year,
Yeah.
but they're doing
They're
it
gonna
next
keep
year.
bringing it up
You
back
think?
until they figure out a way to get it in.
That'll be
I
fun.
know like in a B&O tax, like, my business, we get a credit for it because we're under the threshold for the city of Sumner's B&O tax. So I know you can give each level of business different credit amounts, like, so it'll tell me like, oh, here's how much you would pay in B&O tax, but here's how much you get as a small business as your credit towards it. So basically it zeroes it out as a small business.
So that was
Yeah.
something we had discussed at previous finance meetings, and doing the B&O tax was to set thresholds for what it would cost, who would we actually impact we're really trying to impact more of the big box stores that
Yeah,
essentially
yeah.
collect that tax anyway, because they do it in all these other jurisdictions. And so that money is basically sitting there. They already collect it and it's just waiting to be tapped versus, you know, putting that on a small business and that kind of thing. We really wanted to not do that. So.
Yeah. And that's exactly it. I know Fred Meyer's down in Sumner pays B&O tax. The Bonney Lake Fred Meyer does not pay no B&O tax, so they keep extra funding in their pockets each year because it's already built into their pricing. So Walmart, same
Right.
thing. They keep extra. Home Depot, look, we have the best pool of large box stores right
Yeah.
here to collect B&O tax from. And it's just coming out of their bottom line because they are already collecting for it. They're already expecting to pay for it. So it's just like, oh, guess what? We should
So I-
benefit from
Oh,
it.
sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I thought you
Sumner
were done.
has an Sumner has
So-
a city of B&O tax?
Yep. Yep.
The city of Sumner runs a B&O tax.
Yep, absolutely. I get a credit every single month when I pay my sales tax.
I know Auburn recently introduced theirs. I didn't know who else in the surrounding districts did.
Yeah, Auburn, yeah, that's who I reached
Or
out to.
hasn't been there ever since you've been in business.
As long as I've been there.
You went in business, what, 2020 or 2021?
Not 2022. Yeah, 2022.
So 2 years. And you've
So
been
the
not having to pay it.
discussion before, I think, the council had this as a whole council discussion. And what I believe, and I could pull the stuff back up, and I know I just recently sent it to you, Councilmember Hubler, and I think I sent it to Roach. It was two of you that asked for it.
Yeah.
But I believe the council previously had a $500,000 threshold that if you made less than $500,000 in the business, that you wouldn't be taxed. Some of the medical places were trying to also come and get a credit for, and council's like, no. So you can expect that they would come back as well to want to have that discussion.
Huh, really? Weird.
Well, I do have a hard time taxing. I know, like, with my health insurance, we never had to pay tax on our healthcare. And then all of a sudden, when it became universal, everybody's got to pay this tax. And it's really hard when you have different medications that you have to pay for every single month. And now you have to be taxed on those. And then you're being taxed to go see your doctor, as if it's a service. And it just makes it really difficult. That's on top of your monthly medical bills, your medical expenses. So I do have a problem taxing hospitals and healthcare services. I just think that is it's a crime on the people who really can't afford it. And especially we have a big elderly community here, and they're having to pay taxes now on their healthcare and their medications. A lot of them can't even afford the medications that they have. And then if we start taxing that, then I do have a problem with that. So that might be something that we want to look into an exemption for.
You're right.
If
Yeah,
I'm gonna-
we can do some of that stuff.
If I'm gonna
Mhm.
go for something like this, there has to be some concessions, but.
Yeah, this is a huge discussion. But like I said, I'm
Yeah.
gonna look into Sumner because I wasn't sure that they were running the B&O tax. It sounds like if
I
they
don't-
are, they're
I
doing it
don't
through
believe
the.
they are.
They don't.
I get a credit every
They
single month.
don't.
I think
They
it's the
don't. You're
state
confusing
B&O
me. That's
tax.
the state, yeah. So
Yeah,
Oh.
it's the state. That's what I thought. I was gonna say, and yeah,
the internet.
It says Sumner on my line item there when I put it in. Yeah, stupid. And then it gives me a little credit back for it.
probably because
Yeah.
they're saying they don't charge you, but they could maybe is what they're.
Right.
Because that's through the state.
One
And
more
there's
cup of
reasons
coffee, you're in.
why, there's reasons why the other cities are saying don't do B&O tax through the state. And so, that's how come we have to pay these other people to get the program up and running. Auburn's a fairly large city, and I talked to a few other cities. This was, gosh, when did we do this, Mayor?
Years ago.
2 years
Yeah.
ago? Yeah, okay, I was gonna say, sorry, my memory's a little foggy here, but I did a bunch of research back then on this, and it was, everybody that did it said, you definitely wanna go through this this file local people that does the upgrade. So
Sounds like a
lessons
plus.
learned. I don't want to do it any other way.
It's like, huh, really? Do we get under? Yes, good. So I think we'll end our discussion now and then we will go downstairs. Great. Motion adjourned, adjourned. Thank you.